Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Anuj Jindal, and today we are going to take our discussion forward and talk about the report which recently came out by NITI Aayog called as Strategy for New India at 75. So it's a futuristic report which gives an account of what India has done till far so far and what the future should look like according to NITI Aayog and the recommendations given by the Aayog to make that a reality. In the previous lesson, we talked about the first driver, that was growth. There are a total of 11 drivers, and we talked about the first driver, that was growth. And from this lesson, we are going to talk about other drivers. So here we are going to talk about the second driver, that is employment, that I'm sure all of you would accept is one of the major drivers and at the same time one of the major constraints of growth and development at this point of time. And then we'll be talking about technology. So in this lesson, we are going to talk about two drivers at one point of time: technology and innovation plus employment. These two things we are going to talk about. So let's skip the growth part that we've already discussed in the past. Let's now jump to unemployment, and labor reforms. Now, one important thing that you must remember here or try and understand is that the imperfections of the past pertaining to anything that we've done, whether it's growth, whether it's employment, whether it's technology, whether it's labor reforms, anything, whatever challenges we see today, whatever challenges we see today are due to the imperfections of the past. And the challenges that we see today are the guiding light to give us objectives for the future. So we can have objectives of the future only if we know what are the challenges that we are facing. And the challenges that we are facing today are only because we have had certain wrong policies, certain wrong imperfections, certain wrong implementations, or incomplete implementations of policies, of acts, of policy, of various schemes, of initiatives that the government and the private sector has come out in the past. Okay, so that has to be made clear. Now, when you've understood this particular chain, it will be very easy for you to understand anything that we go through in the future slides. So here, the challenges that we face today can be divided into different parts. Number one is laws. So if we create another chain here, we say, okay, number one, the challenges are laws. We have multiple laws on employment and labor at present, and that is a major challenge because nobody knows which law is to be followed or how it is to be followed. They are very complex. Companies often run away from abiding by these laws just because there are n number of these laws and they are very complex. So it gives rise to corruption, it gives rise to discretion at the hand of bureaucrats. So number one is rationalizing, simplifying laws that we have at the hand. Number two, that we have the problem that we're facing is informal sector. So majority, in fact, 85% of workforce in India is working in the informal sector. So we need to clarify that. We need to change that and bring them into the formal and organized sector. Number three is labor force participation. And when we talk about labor force participation, the female labor force participation is very low in India compared to other countries. Presently in India, it is only 22%, approximately 22.7. So let's take it as 22%. Whereas in China, presently it is 61%. Now that's a huge gap that needs to be filled, that needs to be complete, that needs to be filled, that needs to be clarified. And number four, the major challenge that we are facing today is the gross mismanagement of our workforce, because majority of our workforce is working in agriculture, but agriculture contributes only 15% to GDP. So the data is available here, right here. If you see here, agriculture, the employment is 49%, but GDP, contribution to GDP, is only 15%. On the other hand, employment in industry is 37%, but the contribution to GDP is only 23%. And service employment is 37, but the contribution to GDP is huge at 62%. So this mismanagement of workforce in India needs to be changed, needs to be well managed in order to ensure that whatever employment growth we have in the future is sustainable in nature. Now, for your clarification, the total workforce working in India presently, or counted as a part of the workforce presently, is 52 crores. Okay, so that's just a fact that you need to remember. Okay, so these are the four major challenges that we've identified. Laws, where we need laws on wages, laws on safety, laws on industrial relations, laws on social security, where we need to increase formalization, reduce informalization. We need to increase female labor force participation rate, where the target is 30% by 2022-23, and to change the skewness of our workforce or employment and GVA contribution. So these are the major challenges that we face, and they're also and these challenges are mainly because of the imperfections of the past. So whatever wrong we have done in the past, we are basically all those things are affecting our present and our future now. So that's very important to understand. So these are the major constraints, and constraints basically mean the challenges that we have because of the imperfections, because of the problems in the past. Now certain more challenges that we have, or constraints that we have. Skills. Now, why majority of our workforce is employed in the informal sector? The major reason is skills. They are not very highly skilled, therefore they're not valued by the employer, and therefore they are often exploited and employed in the informal sector. To give you an example of or a fact, 47%, please listen to me carefully, 47% of highly educated are employable in India. Only 47%. That means 53%, a high 53% of highly educated individuals are actually not employable. That means that majority of the highly educated are not employable just because they lack in something called as skills. So that tells us about the level of skill gaining that employment, that education is doing in our society. And the way forward, what's the way forward? How do we recover from all these problems? Of course, the first and foremost point that is very important is to enhance skills. We have to focus on enhancing skills along with education. We have to reform the labor laws. There are n number of laws. The government wants to move it or bring it down to four major laws related to wages, related to security, related to safety of the employees, and related to industrial relations. Enhance labor force participation rate, female labor force participation rate, again coming out from the same thing. Improve data collection. Now the government or other organizations don't even know the employment data to a large extent, and that creates problems, because when you don't know what's happened in the past, how can you correct the future? Ease of industrial relations to encourage formalization. So it's on collected. If you understand one, you have understood the entire chain. Wages, minimum wages are not strictly followed in the country, and the reason is, number one, laws, and number two, informalization. So if these two problems are resolved, then automatically the problem of minimum wages will also be resolved. Working conditions and social security, again, due to laws. The laws are not friendly enough for the employers, and at the same time not strict enough to ensure that the employers don't take advantage of these laws. Okay, so I hope you have understood the second major driver, that was employment. Now let's come to the third major driver, that is technology and innovation. So here let's have a look at the future that NITI Aayog brings to the country. That NITI Aayog brings to the country. What, according to NITI Aayog, should the future with respect to technology and innovation look like? First of all, India should be among the top 50 countries in the Global Innovation Index. Second, 5 of our scientific research organizations should be amongst the top 100 in the world in the next 5 years. And third, India should aim to spend at least 2% of GDP on R&D. The present expenditure on R&D as a percentage of GDP is only 0.7%. That shows that compared to other countries, we are so low in spending, certain money as a part of the GDP. Comparing with China, presently China's expenditure on GDP is a high 2%. So if we compare it with China, we want to be where China is with respect to expenditure as a percentage of GDP in the next 5 years. Now that shows us that we are far behind. And when we come to the current situation and the constraints, global innovation index, we lag a lot at a far below rank of 57. Is the third largest country in terms of number of startups. So these are all positive points, and the reason that India has done well in all these is because of number one, ISRO and DRDO. These two organizations have done amazingly well in the past 2 to 3 decades. They have beautifully gone forward and left a mark on the world stage. Secondly, startups have cropped up in India very fast, and the reason that they have been able to grow so fast is twofold. Number one, Jugaad. Whether you agree with it or not, the idea or the entire philosophy or the entire need to fix everything through Jugaad has actually resulted in a lot of startups in India. And the second and very important is that high unemployment in India has actually made people so desperate to look for some of the other opportunities that instead of looking for jobs anymore, they have started working on their own. So the problem of unemployment has actually given rise to a big industry, and that is the industry of startups in India. But that does not mean that unemployment is good. That only means that what problem we had, people found a solution to the problem by themselves rather than relying on the government. So the government needs to understand that it has not been able to live up to the demands of the people, and it needs to do a lot more. So all these are the current part of current situation, and the good things that we have done when it comes to science and technology. And the constraints remain with number one, expenditure. So R&D expenditure, as I said, is very less, 0.7% of GDP. Lab to land time is too long. What this means is that if something is innovated, or if something new is experimented upon and proved in the labs, bringing it to reality, the time taken is too long because of bureaucracy, because of n number of or a large number of approvals required, and because of the slow method of the government, how the government works. In fact, Amartya Sen, a long time ago, I read a book by Amartya Sen. I don't remember the name, but in that book, he mentioned that the difference between China and India is that in China, the changes that happen too fast, and that is an advantage for China because things move fast. But in India, because of bureaucracy and red tapeism, things move very slowly. And because of this slow movement, India is running out of time. But he also mentioned that this change, which happens too fast in China, also has a disadvantage, because this means that the change can happen not only in favor of the people but also against the people. And the changes are not permanent. The changes can actually be reversed. But the same does not happen in India. Although changes are slow, but they are more permanent, because the reason is that India is a democracy. So reversing the changes once they're done is a difficult task for a country like India, and that's a good thing. So he gave both the dimensions of uh, slow changes and fast changes, and told us as to which one is better, which one is not, and what are the expected sides of it. You need to just understand that the time taken to bring things to reality, once they've already been proved, once they've already been experimented upon, it's too long. The adoption of indigenous innovations by Indian industry is not very encouraging. The reason is very obvious. Quality of heavy industries produced in India is still questionable, and secondly, the cost is still very high compared to China and even compared with advanced countries now. And the reason is that we have high cost of production, we have high corruption. That is one of the major reasons which increases the cost, and the labor is not very skilled, which results in high cost of labor. Poor progress in development and deployment of affordable technologies. The speed with which development and deployment of affordable technologies is happening is too slow. It's too slow. Now, what is the way forward? We've seen all the constraints, we've seen all the current situations. What is the way forward? What should be done? According to NITI Aayog, an empowered body needs to be created. An empowered body needs to be created to steer the management of science, which can actually work in an autonomous manner and manage and steer the entire management of science and technology in the country. A non-lapsable district innovation fund should be created. Non-lapsable district innovation fund with a corpus of 2 crore rupees. Atal Innovation Mission has already set up 1000 Atal Tinkering Labs for innovation in schools. It needs to increase to 5000 by 2019 and 10,000 by 2020. Department of Science and Technology should create a national technology data bank in order to create a database of all the technological innovations happening. And a higher education commission, once set up, may consider giving credits for innovation and startups, which basically means that making patent and copyright laws more strong in the country, so that people are encouraged to go for innovations and to go for more startups, because their effort is going to be recognized and protected by the government, by the law of the land. So all these things were related with two another drivers that we discussed today. As I had said, that there are 11 drivers, and we've already discussed growth, which was the first driver, and today we discussed employment and technology. In the future slides, in the future videos, we are going to cover all the drivers, and then we'll move towards infra, inclusion, and governance. Now, keep this in mind. This particular report is not important only for RBI, it's also very important for UPSC aspirants, and it's one of the most comprehensive reports out there. If you cover this, you're going to be benefited not only in phase 1, not only in phase 2, but also in interview. So all three phases, whether it's phase 1 of RBI or prelims of UPSC, whether it's phase 2 of RBI or mains of UPSC, or whether it's interview of RBI or UPSC, a good understanding about what NITI Aayog wants to say, what it has penned down as its vision for the future in India is very important. I think it can be very useful. Okay. If you have any doubts, if you need any clarifications, you can comment in the comments box below, and I'll be happy to reply to your comments. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for regular notifications about the videos that I release on a regular basis. All the very best. Take care.